You're watching Third and Long on Rider Nation Station. Brought to you with the help of these following fine sponsors: Buffalo Wild Wings, Miller's Funeral Home, Eagles Lodge 767, Rabel's Auto Service, Plus One Professionals, Auglaze Equipment Rental, Midway Trailers, American Legion Post 323, Albert Sporting Goods, Family Audiology, Speckman Automotive, Kogi Plumbing and Heating, Speeds Chiropractic, Varsity Lanes, Minster Bank, VFW Post 9289, Quinary Pizzeria, and Fowler's TV.
Here at TLC, we expanded our business, so we wanted the security of knowing exactly where all the kids are and what's going on in each of the rooms. We chose Fowler's because we've done all our televisions with them, and they mentioned they have security systems. So we just wanted to go out and look at it, and they were very upfront, and they do excellent work from start to finish. And so we chose Fowler's TV. It's been great for us here at TLC Learning Center, and Fowler's TV would be great for anyone.
Buffalo Wild Wings in St. Mary's is proud to support Rough Rider athletics and the Memorial Student Athletes. Join Buffalo Wild Wings for each Rough Rider football game streamed on Rider Nation Station. Buffalo Wild Wings, the greatest of all times.
Miller Funeral Home has been serving the Rough Rider community in its time of need since the 70s. Our business is a family affair, dedicated to serving families with integrity, dignity, and compassion. Miller Funeral Home, proud to be a supporter of the Rough Rider community.
St. Mary's Eagles 767 is dedicated to promoting the general welfare of the citizens of St. Mary's by giving special attention to public improvements. They are also committed to helping meet the public needs and all that relates to the betterment, convenience, and comforts of the citizens of St. Mary's. For more information on how you can become a member, call 419-394-3257 or stop in during business hours at 404 East Spring Street in St. Mary's. St. Mary's Eagles, 767. People helping people. Colder weather is just around the corner, and you want to make sure your family's vehicle is tuned up and ready to go. Rabel's Auto Service has been voted the best auto repair center in St. Mary's the last 3 years. And did you know they will pick up and deliver your vehicle for free? Give Rabel's Auto Service a call at 419-394-1624 or stop in and see Jeremy at 1610 Salina Road in St. Mary's. Rabel's Auto Service in St. Mary's. Give them a call today.
Auglaze Equipment Rental is your source for all your equipment needs. Whether you're a contractor or a homeowner with a project, we can help get the job done more efficiently. Check us out at 1900 Salina Road or auglazeequipmentrental.com or just call 419-394-7883. Auglaze Equipment Rental.
Well, hello everyone, and we welcome you to this edition of Rider Nation Station's Third and Long. I'm your host, Joe Hurlbert, and joining me as they do each and every week, former coaches Roger Duncan, Greg Freewalt, Denny Vossler, and Denny Long. As I said, Denny Long. You know, first of all, gentlemen, I want to say this has been a joy to do all season long. And we thank you for doing so.
You have a question?
I will have a question. This week we're going to talk about the Salina Senior Bulldogs. It's the season finale, and what a better way to finish up the regular season with our rival across the lake, the Salina Bulldogs. Obviously, we have probably many a story that we can tell. First of all, I'm going to ask Voss and Wally, let's talk about your rivalry as players first, and then we'll get into the coaching rivalry.
Well, our rivalry was pretty strong, and I remember when I was a kid in the old days, the guys would say that they would go over to Salina and yell St. Mary's, and the pool balls would fly all over the place. So Salina was by far the biggest rivalry we had when I played. And the sad thing was we lost to Salina that year, 24-14 for the championship. You know, making excuses, we had a great fullback. Timmy Fortney was out of the game. He got a knee torn out against Walpuck. Floyd Keith, another running back, was sick that night. Tom Baker, I can go on with defensive line was out. But we lost 24-14, and down the line, as the games went on, they tied Van Wert 6-6. We beat Van Wert 40-14, we got healthy again. But you can only make excuses. The game's going. I never forgot that game.
I think when I was in school and played here, Salina was our biggest rivalry, and one of those years they were really, really good. I think that would have been my junior year. I think they ended up being league champions. And the other 2 years, I think one of those years we were a better football team, but we went over there and tied them. And then my senior year, we tied them. So, that was back in those days where you played to ties, and needless to say, we had to live with that for a long time. There are a couple of ties to your arch rival. So,
a lot of times that when it's a big rivalry, because not only do it's a battle on the field, but people work in their community, and if you work beside somebody and you're wherever you may be working in your factory or whatever the case may be, and you're going to get ribbed all season long, all year, for the next year, until that rivalry comes back, and that game comes back the following year. So it's a year-long thing. It's always talked about.
There's some old stories that out at Goodyear, where half the people worked in St. Mary's and half in Salina, that people would actually bet their paychecks on the Salina St. Mary's game. And when Skip got word of that, somebody told him that, and he said, well, they're idiots. They ought to be committed. Anybody that would bet any amount of money on a 17-year-old kid has no business. They don't even know when to take the garbage out regularly. They can't make their beds, and you're betting your paycheck on them?
Well, that's just how this rivalry has evolved. And of course, from a coaching standpoint, I'm sure you have stories along the way. I can remember playing back in the early 70s, mid 70s. I believe Fred Hilbert was their head coach at that point in time. And then, when there was things that we did in preparation for that, Skip got us ready. We'd call us in on the night before, and we'd watch a movie or whatever the case may be and get us fired up. But there's always certain things you do to try to get that edge against Salina.
The best part of the rivalry was beating them on their own field. That was the kind of the top of the mountain, if you could go over there and beat them, just because you could send their fans home with a frown on their face. And one of my favorite stories, because it involves one of our friends who was a Salina grad, but is blue and gold because his daughter and son and his wife are all from here, and his son played for us. The game where they had the whole game, and our extra point, our long kicker missed an extra point, but we lined up at the end of the game for about a 40-yard field goal. And of course they're over there cheering and everything else, because they know there's no way that he can make this thing, and we're over looking at each other like, oh my gosh. And of course he banged it right down the middle, and all of a sudden according to our friend, their whole stadium sounded like ugh. And it was just dead silence. And of course he couldn't grin or smile until he got out of there. But that's the way to beat Salina.
Yeah, I remember that game. That was 2003. And Nick Peffenberger kicked that 40-yard field goal. And what was unbelievable during that game is that after we'd scored once, and then we scored again, we missed an extra point, which Peffy missed. It made it 13-0. And then we kicked it off to him, and he kicks it off the tee, because he was our kickoff kicker too, and he missed the ball. And it squibbed off, and we recovered it. And so, Peffy had two colossal things there during the game, but at the end of the game, we had the ball on their 30 or 20-some yard line, and I think Doug Fry was our coach then, and, we were kind of, it was our last chance, and we were 8-1 at the time. And if we beat them, we ended up being league champs. And I'll be darned, Peffy came out, and as cool as a cucumber, knocked it through from 40 yards out. And I remember talking to Denny Long here after the game. Denny was no longer coaching to us, and we were all just in shock that it went over. But I remember Ding says, I was standing in the end zone right underneath the goal post, and I saw it. It went over by about 6 inches, and but we ended up beating, and then we went on. Of course, got in the playoffs. We were league champs, but great victory for St. Mary's, and I've never seen a Salina crowd just melt. It got just hush quiet in there, and like I said, they had just gotten ahead of us, and then that happened, and my God, I've never seen anything like it ever. And what a ball game.
Joe, going back to the ball game against Salina, I looked through the archives a little bit, and I saw we started playing Salina in 1923. And those years, you didn't have a lot of opponents, so we played them twice. And we played them twice in 24. Well, the good thing was it was 1931 before Salina finally got a win against us. So we stacked up a few wins there, and looking down through the wins, and I'm real close on this. Against Salina, we have 70 wins against 26 defeats and 6 ties.
I'll add to the story about the Nick Peffenberger field goal. I'm sitting in the booth with Big Ralph, and I'm shuffling my papers, getting ready, and Ralph goes, well, they're going to try a field goal. I go, what? I said, he can't make it from here. I said, he's 40 yards away. And lo and behold, as time ran off the clock, 0 went across the upright, we win. Best way to end a ball game.
Yes, I was among Salina fans, and they were all screaming at the top of their voices, it's a fake, it's a fake. They're not going to try a 43-yard field goal. It's a fake. And I kind of had to agree with them, but we were all wrong. We made it. That did it.
And I'll never forget the official running out, and normally they raise their hands for if it's good. He comes out from underneath the goalpost and he sticks his thumb out and he goes like that. And I thought, what does that mean? I had no clue what that meant, but nonetheless, it was good, and the Riders go on to win. So as far as preparation for Salina under Skip, what are some of the things that you guys did throughout the course of the week in order to prepare for Salina?
We always ran a Salina 400. That was everybody took a lap around the track, and just a little bit of torture, but a little bit of extra work, and something like that. But like was mentioned earlier, Skip would bring us in on Thursday, and Skip was one of the greatest motivational speakers I've ever heard. And you would just sit there and think, boy, if those kids aren't ready, I know about 4 or 5 coaches that are, because we were walking across the hall into the gym with our eyes blinking and stuff, and our muscles all tightened up, and us old-timers were ready to go. And but yeah, we always had the Salina 400 and maybe a few other little tortures, but it was just the idea of the thing.
You know, one of the big things that we always had is that when we'd come out to practice on Tuesday of the Salina week, you'd look out on Wally's tree over there, and there'd be a bunch of carp hanging from the branches of the trees. And I don't know who, whether the Rider Rooters or somebody in town, they would go out and they'd catch a bunch of carp, and they'd tie them on ropes, and they'd string them around in our football practice field there. So all week long, the kids had to look at these dead carp hanging in the trees. You know, that always got us ready for the big game.
I'm sure, Joe, you remember this. One time we were over playing them at Salina Field, and I didn't think this was too nice out of them, but they had an old Model A4, and they were dragging a dummy around with Ronnie Keith's number on it, and we kicked the crap out of them that night.
Yeah, nothing like dead carp to get you all fired up.
Well, and telling stories now, Denny Long and I were always the guy up in the booth. Well, when you go to Salina, you're clear up on top watching it. And this, their film taker was right there with us, and he had some guy with him, and this guy was just really mouthy. And finally, Coach Long, he just had enough when they called a penalty against Salina. And I think Coach Long said something, why don't you go down and officiate? And the guy looked at him and said, well, I'm not afraid of you. And I thought, well, I better get between them. So I squeezed in between them, He looked at me and he says, "I'm not afraid of you either." And well, as it went on, we had to give him our film because the cameraman filmed the whole game with a cap over the end of the film.
Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with more on Third and Long. You're watching Third and Long on Rider Nation Station. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for a new trailer or needing your current one fixed? Then head over to Midway Trailer Sales. We're conveniently located just off U.S. Highway 33 in St. Mary's and Interstate 75 in Dayton. We're your one-stop shop for new and used trailers, flatbeds, and snowplows. We also offer a wide array of parts to fit your trailer's needs. Our professional service team will get you back on the road in no time. And of course, we're Ohio's only authorized empty hopper dealer. Come visit us at www.midwaytrailers.net. When you need a haul, give Midway a call.
St. Mary's Legion Post 323, veterans working for veterans and the future of our country. The St. Mary's Legion Post 323 supports veterans programs such as Gifts for Yanks, Support the Troops, Comfort Warriors, Blood Donor, POW MIA programs, as well as children and youth programs. The St. Mary's Legion Post 323 also donates thousands of dollars each year to local summer programs such as Boys State, Girls State, Scholarships in Education, Boy Scouts, Oratorical, and Shooting Sports. St. Mary's Legion Post 323, remembering the past, living the present, and working for the future.
Albert Sporting Goods is here to outfit your team, both on and off the field. Since 1980, Albert Sporting Goods has serviced schools, clubs, and businesses throughout Ohio. For all of your uniform, spirit wear, and equipment needs, make it Albert Sporting Goods. Order online now at albertsportinggoods.com and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Hello, I'm Dr. Ellen Hunter, owner of Family Audiology Associates with offices in Salina and St. Mary's. I am a St. Mary's Memorial graduate and a proud supporter of our Auglaize and Mercer County community. Since 2004, my staff and I have tested and treated the hearing imbalance of many of our infants, children, adults, and elderly in our community, and we would be proud for you or your loved one to be one of our next patients. Call Family Audiology Associates today, your hometown hearing experts, and go Riders!
All right, we welcome you back to Third and Long on Rider Nation Station. Tonight we're streaming live from Guarneri's Pizzeria and Pub in downtown St. Mary's, so we're glad the folks that are here have joined us tonight. Of course, coming up shortly after this will be Rules of the Game with Zach Farrell and Mark Sisko, but we're talking a little bit about the Salina-St. Mary's rivalry. Of course, St. Mary's plays Salina this Friday night to conclude the 2022 season. Of course, Rider Nation Station will be there to bring you all the play-by-play action of that ball game, so we hope you will tune in and join us. We've talked a little bit about the history, some stories from a coaching standpoint. What are some of the games that you remember? There had to be some outstanding games between St. Mary's and Salina over the years.
Going back to that 1965 season, I did learn one thing, that Quelling and Jim Otis were better than Greg Freewalt and Denny Vogel. They kicked us pretty well.
Yeah, I remember there was a Salina game in the mid-'80s where we had a pretty good team. They had a pretty good team. We were playing at their place. And Mike Axe's grandson kicked a field goal, or I think it was a field goal or an extra point late. Extra point late in the game, made an extra point late in the game that beat us by 1 point. And of course that team I think went on and played in Columbus in the state championship game, and they ended up losing. They had a wily kid at quarterback, but that was a memorable game. It was kind of like a league championship game, and they won it, and of course that propelled them on then to get in the playoffs. Back then you pretty much had to be the league champion to get in, and they did, and then they made it to the state semifinals.
I'll talk a game where we beat him over there, but one of our halfbacks was Dave Hosfeld, and Dave got whacked in the head and staggered back to the huddle and told the official he was okay. And as soon as the official turned his back, he just collapsed, dropped like a rock, and so they brought him over to the sideline. And of course, we took his helmet and hid it from him, because every time the offense would get the ball, Dave would get up like that and look around. He goes, "Where's my helmet? Where's my helmet? Where's my helmet?" And then he'd just sit back down. and luckily, he had a light concussion and recuperated playing. But I remember that was a good game to beat him over there anyhow.
Joe, you were talking about some of the good players Salina had that remember over the years. They had a couple quarterbacks. Wiley the year that they went to the state finals and got beat 12-6 by Brecksville or something like that. They beat us 9-7 or 9-6. I forget what the score was that game, and that was a tough loss there. They also had another kid at quarterback, this Mike Bath, and I think he played for Miami University. And I remember watching him play against Ohio State. And they took Ohio State right down to the fourth quarter, and I thought he was a better quarterback of the two that night. So, yeah, they've had a few, and of course you can't take Jim Otis out of the play. You know, he was a hard-running fullback against me, our team, the senior year, and but the guy that really beat us was Quilling, and the quarterback. So, yeah, they've had some good ones over the year also.
They have.
And I remember they had a good running back one time. I can't remember his name, but they were running a counter all the way around the other side of the field, and the only way we stopped it was we had Steve Rockwood from the backside run him down. That's how we stopped the play. They quit running it then.
Yeah, there's always been some great ball games when Salina and St. Mary's do battle. Of course, you talk about Mike Bath. His father also was a quarterback at Salina, Joe Bath, and so it's a father-son combo that you very rarely heard of, but both of them had an opportunity to play against St. Mary's. And I do remember Mike Bath later going on and playing at the University of Miami and had a stellar career there as well. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have some final thoughts from the coaches and talk maybe a little bit about what to expect this Friday night as the Salina Senior Bulldogs come to Grand Lake Health Systems Field to take on the Rough Riders. And of course, Rider Nation Station will be there to bring you all the action. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Speckman Automotive, with stores in St. Mary's and Wapakoneta, is your one-stop shop for all your automotive needs. Family run since 1960, Speckman Automotive upholds the tradition of blending old-fashioned customer service with modern technology that the customers expect and deserve. Shop local. Shop Speckman Automotive.
Kogi Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning has brought the best in comfort control and plumbing services to the St. Mary's area for over 57 years. Kogi's takes pride in identifying heating, plumbing, and air conditioning solutions which stand out from the rest. Give Kogi's a call today. Kogi Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, a name you can trust.
Hello, I'm Dr. Robert Spees. Welcome to Spees Chiropractic and Wellness Center.
As a family practice, Spees Chiropractic welcomes in patients of all ages. Whether this is your first time or you've done this before, Dr. Spees and his compassionate staff are here for you. What makes Spees Chiropractic unique is their three-tier approach. By using chiropractic care alongside massage therapy and physical therapy, all your healthcare needs will be treated compassionately and comprehensively. Spees Chiropractic. Make the right choice for your care.
Head to Varsity Lanes for the pregame or postgame party, dinner, beverages, and bowling with the best prices in town. Varsity Lanes also specializes in birthday parties or office and corporate parties of all sizes. Varsity Lanes is the home of 2 boys and 2 girls state championship titles. Eat, drink, and bowl where the state winners are built. Proud supporters of Rough Rider Athletics, Varsity Lanes.
If you want a winning banking relationship for all your financial needs, let Minster Bank help. We can make all your winning dreams come true. Find us at minsterbank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
VFW 9289's mission is to honor all veterans, past, present, and future. Come on out on Football Friday nights to watch the live stream of Rough Rider football. VFW 9289, a proud sponsor of Rider Nation Stations.
Guarneri's Pizzeria and Pub has partnered with Rider Nation Station this season so that every Friday night, Guarneri's can be Rough Rider Central. Guarneri's will be streaming Rough Rider football live every Friday night at 7, paired with your favorite Rider aid. Call Guarneri's during or after the game to place your pickup order for pizza, wings, or hoagies at 419-394-2244. Remember, Guarneri's, home of the signature Big Ralph. All right, we welcome you back once again to Rider Nation Station's Third and Long program. I'm Joe Hurlbert, along with former Rough Rider coaches. And final thoughts from each of you gentlemen as we talk about and conclude with this St. Mary's Salina rivalry.
Well, it's nice to have them at home. And they played Walpock a great game, and I'm sure they're coming here to play us a great game. Our guys just have to play a great game and leave it all on the field.
A few weeks back, Coach Long stated that he didn't like Kent, didn't like anything about Kent. Well, I have a little bit of that feeling about Salina. So all I've got to say is, go Riders, beat Salina.
Yeah, I think I think it's going to be a hard-fought game. I think Salina is very much so on the upswing. I think we just have to control the ball game with our offense and play mistake-free football, and we'll come out of it okay.
This is, I think, a classic matchup. Salina's had a lot of trouble stopping the run, and we've had a lot of trouble stopping the pass. So whichever team's defense rises to the occasion, I think will win the game.
You know, I know it's easy, and I said this last week on the telecast, it's easy to sit at home and watch us bring you Rider football live, but I encourage people that if you get an opportunity to sit in the stands this Friday night, our players would love to see you there. They need the support. They want to know that you're there behind them, and I would love to see the stands filled with our fans this week. So that's going to conclude it for this edition of Third and Long. Fellas, it's been a joy this season to do this with you and to reminisce a little bit, and I can't thank you enough for taking the time out, especially on a Wednesday night, to come here to Guarneri's and do this program with us. You're welcome. That's going to wrap it up for this edition of Third and Long. Until next time, I'm Joe Hurlbert. Don't forget Friday night, Rough Rider football as the Salina Senior Bulldogs take on the Rough Riders. Rider Nation Station will be there. Join Zach Farrell and myself for all the play-by-play action. Until then, so long, everyone.
Thanks for watching another episode of Rider Nation Station. Help us help you by subscribing on YouTube or following us on Facebook.